So thanks very much if you're still paying attention to the stuff that I'm posting, because it is coming from the heart. Truly, it's coming from the heart. A lot of people question whether Christianity is a legitimate faith. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, Christians do bad things just like non-Christians. I mean, Christians can be murderers, Christians can be rapists, Christians can be child molesters. How could that be? Folks, I can't explain that. Christians could be murder victims. Christians commit suicide as well. Everybody's story is a little bit different, folks. I don't know. I suppose I can only speak for myself. I'm humbled by the knowledge that Jesus made a promise he would never leave us, he would never forsake us. Even to the end of the age, behold, I am with you, even to the end of the age. He saved me out of a lot of sticky situations. I mean, it's not even laughable. Some of the things I've gone through or situations I've been in, I would not even wish those things upon my worst enemy. They're unmentionably tormenting and difficult. Why did God allow this to happen to you? Because you're a bad person? Yeah, in part because he's trying to discipline us when we have to go through our trials and our various tribulations. You just hope it's over. You hope the worst is over. It's like, yeah, yes, God, uncle, I'm crying uncle. Like in the 50s, little kids would wrestle each other until somebody would cry uncle. Like he would put their arm behind their back and inflict pain upon them, and then you would cry uncle. I mean, I've been told that happened in the 50s. It certainly didn't happen in the 70s and the 80s. That was definitely passé. But boy, I hope I've cried uncle sufficiently. I don't want anything more to happen to me. I've been through so much stuff. I mean, really, you should have gotten it over it by now. Or you should have gotten over it by now. Your brother's suicide, you should have gotten over it. Society tells you that you just move on when a loved one dies under mysterious circumstances. I mean, we assume it was suicide. How can we know? I mean, we'll never know unless somebody comes forward and says, oh yes, actually I pushed him off the building. I didn't do it. I mean, it's very troubling. 2 kids who grew up with the same parents under virtually identical circumstances. One of them ends up dying in their 30s, and one of them ends up surviving. Who was the lucky one? No, just kidding. No, I do feel bad. I think that the loved ones of suicide victims, if you want to call them victims, and I use that term very loosely, because they're also the victimizer. What the destruction that they leave in their wake makes them a victimizer as well as a victim. You wonder, well, what did I do wrong? Apparently, I wasn't like the best big sister. I was almost 10 years older than my brother, and back in the day, in the 70s and the 80s, if you want a little kid to behave, you smacked him right on the butt. You spanked him, you slapped him. Yeah, I remember, I would slap my brother on the arm because he was just so frickin' hyperactive, and I wasn't like that at all. I couldn't relate. I'm a girl, I'm calm. I can sit in a corner for hours and read a book, but you're just like, like a yo-yo. I mean, we were so different. in that respect. I mean, in many respects, we were different, but did I ever wish him ill or harm? I love that kid. When he was first born, boy, did I treasure that kid. How many times did I change his diaper? At least as many times as my mother did, because Mom had to work, So sometimes I was the one actually mothering my brother when Mom was working. So, because well, I don't want to go into that. But something changed. Somehow, when he hit puberty, that's when it gets a lot of people. They just decide, oh, the Bible is a myth, Christianity is just folklore, I'm just gonna play Dungeons and Dragons. It's like, yeah, you can occupy your time in many good ways. I would not recommend, I'm sorry, I wouldn't recommend Dungeons and Dragons. Well, you're such a blue nose. I am, in fact. I don't recommend Dungeons and Dragons. Neither do I recommend Magic the card game. Neither do I recommend pornography, because it's going to take you to a dark, increasingly darker place. How do you think I kept my optimism after everything that I endured, both before my brother died and after? I mean, how do you think I have kept up my optimism? I know you sound like a very depressed person. Well, I'm a German, I tried to, I bought all the stuff, the organic stuff, like, well, if you're depressed, just go and take this certain herb. It's going to make you. All it did was like. No, I can't tell you about that, but actually, I wouldn't just take valerian root or something. Oh, maybe that would kill you. I don't know. It's like I got everything for depression. I got everything, and it doesn't really help. I mean, I have tried everything that has come down the pike. There's just, if you're gonna be a depressed person, it's something you're always going to have to fight. Fight against the dying of the light. It's not phony when I'm like, oh, I'm happy, I'm optimistic, because the Bible is the only thing that gives me any sort of hope at all. Wow. You think, well, and I do think this quite often, if circumstances were better, wouldn't you be happy? I remember a few times during my childhood and adulthood when I was happy and circumstances were great, but those times were few and far between. There was always this overwhelming, burdensome heaviness, whether it's something that happened to me personally or I learned about something bad that happened in society. And now you see the difference between me and my brother. He's the one who apparently killed himself by jumping off a building. Why won't you stop talking about it? Why is it that important? It's important because perhaps in a way it could be instructive to people. I don't celebrate it at all. I don't feel that I am responsible in any way, shape, or form, because I know that my brother rejected Christianity toward the end of his life. He claimed he was an agnostic or an atheist. Jesus is the only thing that gave me any hope at all. Yeah, when I was about, say 13, 14 years old, maybe even 12, I did kind of contemplate killing myself. I mean, it reached its apex or its nadir after my parents were divorced, and I was in the 8th grade. And I was very gawky and nerdy, and people were just very unkind to me. And they continued to be unkind to me throughout high school. I mean, there are just some people who are just mean and cruel and nasty, and that's how they get their kicks. I I don't think I was ever that way, really. I mean, I don't have a vindictive, nasty bone in my body. Unfortunately, that's not true about other people. And so they're the ones who probably endure far worse punishments than I have throughout my life. I think I've always been kind and gentle. You see yourself through rose-colored glasses. But I think these are reality glasses as well. I mean, I can't remember being extremely mean to anybody or any animal, or sometimes I would lose my temper, but you know what? The target of my temper, when I got to college, it sort of ended up being myself. I want to tell you the truth. This is an embarrassing thing to admit, but as long as we're dishing, let's really dish. I would get so angry at myself, I would actually punch myself in the head, where you couldn't see the bruises, because it'd be like where my hair was. I punched myself in the head, and I'd I'd rip my hair. I would tear my hair. I would pull my hair out by the roots, because I was angry and frustrated, because I was such a... If there was a situation that was frustrating me, I would take it out on myself. I would punish myself. I would hit myself. I would tear my hair out. Because I guess I was angry at myself, because I thought the reason why all this bad stuff is happening to me is because I'm too passive. Darn it, if you wouldn't be so gosh darn passive. I know that sounds crazy. Some people, I guess today people cut themselves or whatever, or maybe that's passe as well, but I've never looked this up, like, well, why do people hate themselves and hit themselves in the head? It's like I was like beating myself up, and nobody knew. That was like a very dark secret. I loathed myself, and I hated myself for being imperfect. And yet I was too lazy. It's like I couldn't push myself towards perfection, because I was just a bit too lazy to do that. So it was easier for me to just go about my way being mediocre, and then periodically hit myself in the head. I was overly passive, though. But I was kind of taught to be that way from a little child. It's like you just kowtow to the powers that be. Kowtow. I don't know if that's Chinese, but I mean, I'm not trying to sound like weird or racist, but when I say kowtow, I mean, I know no other term for it than you just bow, you bow, you bow, you bow down, you bow down. A lot of times I probably should not have bowed down when I did. But on the other hand, you can't act like a complete idiot and a jerk and just... like Crimes Gone Viral. Have you seen those episodes recently? It's just like Crimes Gone Viral. Sorry, it's just like, no, that's going a bit overboard. Yeah, I know you're angry at your life and yourself and society, but really, it's not everybody else's fault. At least, if you're a Christian, you believe that Jesus is there for you. That's the one thing that gives me hope and optimism. He's saved me out of a lot of scrapes. I could never repay him for what he's done for me. And I definitely believe I'm going to inherit eternal life, but you've got to stick it out. You gotta roll with the punches, baby. I know. More memes and things. Roll with the punches, baby. Roll with it, baby. Right. I'm going to post that next, so that's Jesus's encouragement to you. You gotta roll with it, baby. Ooh.